Dreamsbooksfilms will go live in 5 minutes. Stand by, folks, and welcome to a beautiful next session on a special panel discussion with Ganesh Vancheeswaran for the journey of a book. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all our friends and aspiring writers, co authors, lots of friends, lots of viewers of ours of Dream Books Films across the globe. It is 7 p.m. IST, and I'm 2 minutes earlier to give you a little brief about Dream Books Films. We are scheduled to speak to Ganesh Vancheeswaran, our chief mentor, on the journey of a book. Before that, let me tell you a little about Dream Books Films, what you can expect and what we can do together. If you're an aspiring writer, you're just thinking of a story, what do I do? How do I see it on Netflix? How can I make a book? Whom do I speak to? Who are the professionals in this business? And, how difficult is this journey? All of this is getting covered in these online sessions, and myself, Candy, will soon be on a panel with Ganesh Vancheeswaran. Dream Books Films, as you already know, arranges face-to-face one-on-one sessions with your mentors, either in a 8-hour session or a one-on-one for 2 hours, and understand where you're on your script journey, on your book journey, and start mentoring, start the journey and take the cycle on, so that you can finally see your book out there, self-publish it, and what can you get out of it. Now, don't keep those ideas in a store cupboard, or okay, it's locked down, I'm not feeling too good, I don't know who's going to help me, do I have a friend out there? All this and more we have and can help you on your journey. So Dream Books Films is a boutique creative know-how consulting team at your disposal. Some of the most well-known and very celebrated mentors for you to help you on your journey. Find you a script writer, maybe find you a ghost writer, maybe find that producer to take your film and pitch it and make it pitch ready to a OTT platform, which is so important today. We need the content. We're looking for content. So come figure out these circuit, the entire the circuit and the secrets of how to turn that story in your head into a book or into a film or a web series. And this is where art and business come together to make those dreams and ideas into completed books or scripts. So today we are discussing your dreams of that book with our chief mentor. And without much ado, I am going to bring him on the stage and the platform and introduce him as well. So here goes. I think the overlay has come off. Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Can you see me? Hi, Ganesh.
Yes,
can you
I
see
can
me
see
well?
you. Yes, and hear you very well, very clearly. Wonderful to be here. And hi again to our listeners, to our viewers. And thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ganesh. And you are our chief mentor. So there's a lot to look forward to in our next 45 minutes. I'm going to keep it very crisp. We had some beautiful panel sessions with Brahmanand, who's also the chief mentor. You would have Brahmanand Singh, and for the film side and the authoring of the books. And Shalima was one of our guest speakers of the panel. She's seen a quick journey from, she's not written a book, she's done 11 short films. And just it's an inspiration, right? Very few people just get up, but it's easy to do today. So we're going to talk about that. Let me just have the pleasure of introducing you, and so I'm going to read out. So Ganesh Vancheeswaran is a person branding coach, is a writer, editor of books, voiceover artist, I give that away, and he's our chief mentor. He is a catalyst for self-expression, that I can say for sure. Every time I speak with him, there's a lot more I say than I needed to say, and so the story comes on. As a writer, editor of books, and person branding coach, he helps people express themselves and bring out their message powerfully. He works with a wide range of clients, including entrepreneurs, independent consultants, speakers, trainers, senior corporate professionals, and many of you know him personally as well. He's the author of the popular book, The Underage CEO. I wish I could fall in that category. Fascinating stories of young Indians who became CEOs in their 20s, published by HarperCollins. That is his book. And wow, I have to read that because I want to get inspired, even if I'm double that age. As an editor and publishing consultant, Ganesh helps people bring their books out in their most impactful form, which is the most important. All of us have stories to tell, but few get heard. Few people want to listen to, though they may be very powerful. So it's how we put it across that finally matters. So the Right Path, WRITE, his masterclass on writing, publishing, and marketing a book is very popular, and many of you have taken the sessions, I'm sure. And I'm very happy and honored to have him as a part of our chief mentor on Dreamsbooksfilms. And Ganesh has bylines in leading publications such as Christian Science, Monitor, Mint, The Hindu, Khaleej Times, Condé Nast Traveler. Wow, GQ Travel plus Leisure. I'm sure the traveler in me is going to speak tonight. Scroll and others. He loves trekking, movies, music, conversations like today, silence in between. Yes, the
Yes,
pauses are very important. And that's where the whole strength and power of our self is, between, the powerful pause between the breaths, or the powerful pause in the musical notes. That's where actually the power lies, between stimulus and reaction, as we say in our mindful practices. And he's also interested in absurd humor. He lives in Bangalore with his family, but today we are on online platforms. You can reach him anywhere. You can read more about him on his ganeshv.com. So let's begin. And you want to say something on that note, Ganesh? Welcome and happy to be with you.
Yeah, to start with, just happy to be here, Candy. Wonderful to take this conversation to a large audience and to open up and talk about issues, questions, doubts, that might be plaguing people's minds. And if we can bring them some clarity through this conversation, nothing like it. And thank you for facilitating that, for hosting me, and for bringing this about.
I'm going to learn so much more every time I speak to. I learn something new about my own mind, the way it thinks, and that is a very important practice for a mindfulness coach, right? So coaches are writing books
Right,
today. I want to complete
right.
my own book, Sun and Shadows, and many people have know about this journey of mine, and they're like, when is that book coming out? I'm like, I have just found Ganesh. It's like I'm just joking, but no, I'm going to begin on the first question for you, Ganesh. And I think multiple questions have come to us. I will take those in
Okay,
the end. I've taken out top 5 questions, very burning
I see.
questions for people's minds. And
Sure,
during
sure.
these times, I just want to begin on a very positive, good note, a very
Hmm,
blissful note, to
hmm.
telling everyone this is a knowledge session. It is an inspirational knowledge session. Do watch these kind of videos. It takes your mind off what's going on around, and I know everyone's in fear. I would like everyone to read a little, read things which take your mind off the same old WhatsApp forwards, and come out of that clutter, because it is causing a lot of damage to the brain. We are not even realizing it. So watch Tom and Jerry. Just take that
Yeah.
half an hour break on the head. You need that. And I think we are having living blocks. It's writers blocks are having in living blocks now. We don't know what to do next. Next is food, next is work, next is, do I sleep? So it's a continuous, and it's just going to be there. So how do we manage that is something. So take these inspirational, watch such kind of videos, get inspired, TED talks, something. you know on that note, I
Right.
wish everyone a healthy and blissful session today, and nice to talk to everyone. My first question to Ganesh is, so can you
Yes.
tell us an outline of the Indian book publishing scene? Key trends,
Hmm,
main players,
hmm.
the outlook for the near future, specifically because we are all now online, and now at our disposal a computer, but no mind. We are so
Yeah,
distracted. How
yeah.
what can you throw some light on that?
I want to just speak a little bit about the context that you said, about the times that we're going through now, before I come to the Indian book publishing scene. I think it's very important that you brought that up, Candy. It's something that I've been thinking about, and I've been speaking to my friends and clients, contacts, various people, assorted bunch of people about this. It's a recurring theme, yeah. It's hanging heavy on our heads, on our minds like a cloud. I think what I've done, I can only speak for myself, right? So I'm giving you an example. Whenever this happens, it happened last year, it's happening even more ferociously this year, the COVID scare and all that. I just turn to things that bring me joy, things that give me peace, that give me fulfillment. And I just do that day after day after day. This is other than, your routine tasks, which you anyway have to do at home. So, what are these things? For me, writing is one, which means that even if I don't have a writing project, if I'm not writing an article or a book or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about finding our inner space, and writing helps us do that. So I journal. And for you listeners, that's something that you could possibly consider. Just take a notebook, a diary, and a pen. Find a peaceful corner for yourself, wherever that is, in your house, downstairs, anywhere, and just write. I do that, and it really, really helps me a lot. Journaling is just a way of, it's like an escape hatch. You're opening an escape hatch and then letting off all the steam. So you went out a lot of stuff, whatever is plaguing your mind, bothering you, doubts, anxiety, fear, whatever. Also, as you do that, you will delve deeper into your own consciousness, and you will discover that there are wonderful thoughts, wonderful feelings, questions lying deep below. So writing, doesn't always have to be for profit as a commercial enterprise. It doesn't have to be that big book bestseller. It can be that, but I'm saying in these times, I think writing can be a great, great, an island of peace for all of us. So,
Very
Candy, I
well.
think, yeah,
Yeah, so that's true. So write anywhere. It doesn't have to be a book. No one has a book nowadays, and
nothing,
nobody has a
nothing.
corner. So you just stand and WhatsApp your own self. I do a lot of that. Because if
Yeah,
I have an idea and maybe I'm not feeling too good about something, I just write to myself and ask those questions. Even questioning your own self, is a good thing. Just write those questions down, and it's poof out of your system. You need
correct,
to not just give vent to your own people who are already also facing some things, right? And they are not
correct, correct.
interested in listening to you at all because they've got their own things to do. So you write to yourself, talk to yourself. I think I don't see an issue with
Yeah,
that. Right, right,
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So
Yes.
yes, so
And
tell us about the Indian publishing scene. I mean,
yes, yes,
in
yes.
these times, how can one understand what to do, where to go?
I think India is in a great, great place as far as book publishing is concerned. All right. And I've seen this upswing for the last 2 years for sure. I think it's a great time to bring out a book. A lot of people. So, some of the key trends are, in answer to your question, are one, I see more and more people hungering for expressing themselves. That's a trend that cuts across all kinds of people, various walks of life, and depends on what they do. Various walks of life, irrespective of the age group. So people are beginning to get into writing or thinking of writing a book much earlier than before. So I've coached a few people who are just in their teens, and then a few others who are in their early 20s. So the age barrier or the entry age is coming down. That's one big thing. And across age groups and walks of life, I'm seeing people wanting to tell their story. Now,
Right.
that's a big plus, which is pushed, which has led to, I don't know if I can call it a boom, but definitely a rise in the Indian publishing industry and the kind of books that you find outside. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to examine this a little bit more. When I say people of all ages and all walks of life, it also reflects in the kind of works that come out. Why do they come in? What are the motivations? The motivations are mainly two or three. One is to tell their life story. All right, so that's a big motivator for people. So they've gone through experiences, ups, down, positive stuff, shitty stuff. All sorts of things have happened to them. They've achieved something. So it's a mixed bag of stuff that's happened, and whatever be that, there is this need to express that and to tell the world a story. Say, this is what I've gone through it, with the intention that this shows the way to somebody else. This guides, this inspires, and this makes somebody else, pick up lessons and benefit from it. So that's one big trend and motivator. The other kind of books coming out are self-improvement books. That's big in India, and of course
Okay.
across the world too. But in India, self-improvement books have traditionally sold a lot. That continues to come out. This can be domain focused, so marketing, sales, design, coding, all of that, each one of them is a world in itself, and there are so many lessons to be learned, knowledge to be shared. So a lot of these books in self improvement come which are domain focused. Some others are horizontals, what I'd love to call horizontals, which is cutting across domains. These are about life lessons. These are about how you can grapple or how you can navigate life much better than you're doing today. So that's about well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being, about grappling with parenting, about stuff like that. So there are these themes which cut across all spheres of life, help you, help me, help everybody, right? So there are these horizontal kind of self-improvement books also that come out. So I spoke about the age barrier coming down, more and more people wanting to express themselves through a book very strongly and from an earlier age. And I spoke about self-improvement books being big, and people wanting to express their story, their life story, their knowledge, and share that with others in the hope that it will guide and help others, right? Then there is another thing that's happening, which is the trend to
Right.
publish your book by
So,
yourself. Yeah, sorry. I
yeah,
was
I was coming to
stopped.
that. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So as part of
So,
these trends, I'll just complete this point, just this one bit, and then I can give it back to
sure.
you. So
Yeah.
as part of this expression, the need for self-expression, the hunger to tell your story, to share your knowledge, many people are realizing that the traditional publishing model alone is not enough. There's a huge supply-demand gap. People are kind of frothing at on their mouths, and they're trying to burst out of their gates, trying to bring their book out. And that's a very healthy sign of a society maturing in a certain way. That's how I see it. But unfortunately, on the other hand, you have only a few top-notch publishers, the traditional publishers, and they can't really keep up with this demand. So what's happened in between is that the assisted publishing model and the self-publishing model have emerged in the last decade, and both of them have gained momentum, especially self-publishing, right? So that really frees up a lot of things, puts a lot of freedom in your hands, makes you the master of everything, and then that is really also picking up.
So, no, so that's a great point to make. So, when we say self-publishing, you mean, could you elaborate a little about this word as well? There are a lot of people who may not understand what self-publishing also means. Could you elaborate a little on
Yes,
that?
that's true. Sure. So for the longest time, and even today, many people think self-publishing is about going to an enterprise, a publishing outfit, that will paying them some money, and they will do the job of bringing the book out for you. And there are quite a few companies that have grown, that have come in the last decade. But that's not the point. That's not self-publishing at all. This is what I call assisted publishing. So in the traditional model, you have those publishers like Penguin, Random House, Hachette, Vishwakarma. There are lots of publishers, right? A lot of them who do not take money. Yeah, you don't have to pay them money at all. You just send them your sample of your manuscript and extract. You send them what's known as a book proposal. If that book proposal meets their standards, if they love it, then they pick it up for further discussion, and then they may agree to support you, to back it. That's the traditional model. In self-publishing, it is completely in your hands. So in India, the predominant and the most popular, the most vibrant self-publishing company is Amazon through their Kindle imprint. Okay, so Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, that's their imprint. Okay, so I would say that's the only tried and tested popular self-publishing model in India, or platform in India. There is some excess noise, Candy. I don't know why that's coming in.
We can hear you well. Yours is very clear.
Yeah.
I can hear
No,
you.
I'm saying there's
Yeah.
some background noise coming in from your end, possibly, or from somewhere. I don't know where. Background noise. No, I don't know.
Maybe the system. We are able to hear you. It's clean. Yeah, it's clear.
Possibly. ठीक है. So I was saying
Okay.
Kindle, right? So what happens in this? And Kindle came as a response to the trend that I spoke of earlier, the need for self-expression, people bringing out books, but finding that, their books are not being picked up by the traditional publishers. There are gatekeepers in the system. A lot of time also goes in that effort of trying to find a publisher. So Kindle came out as a response to this need or to this situation. So in Kindle Direct Publishing, it's very simple. You write your manuscript, and assuming that your manuscript is ready today, you can bring the book out in just 2 days. All right, that's all it takes for you to upload it on the Kindle platform. Do the tarada, whatever. There is a process. It's all well laid out. It's very intuitive. You just follow that process. You lay out a cover there. You put in your illustrations. You paginate it, and there is a software that will help you do all of that. And in 1 or 2 days, your book can come out. It's out in the market. It's available for sale.
Wow.
So that's as easy, as smooth, and as liberating. I want to use the word liberating because a lot of people have found, that this being quick to market, putting all the decisions in my control as an author, all of this is so liberating. Yeah. And in 2 days, your book is out and selling.
So Ganesh, when you say about assisted publishing, this is not assisted. This is the Amazon, right?
This is the
So,
self-publishing model. Assisted publishing
correct.
is the third model. Yes.
Right. So the self-publishing model with Amazon, is there an approval method or something in that? I mean, or just anyone and anybody can?
See, they don't. You don't have to get your manuscript approved. Okay, there is no such approval.
Okay.
It's just that it has to fit in with certain conditions that Amazon has. In terms of copyright, in terms of plagiarism, in terms of stuff like
Right.
that. Some basic checks that they will do. But other than that, there is really no check. So these are basic hygiene checks that they have to do to be legally in the clear.
So can there be an Amazon bestseller kind of a thing also? Can you become a best? Has that
Yes,
happened?
yes.
They have. Okay.
Yes, it happens, and that's a very recent phenomenon. Again, in response to or
Oh,
as a
okay.
consequence to the self-publishing boom, that really is taken off in India. And yes, Amazon has various categories, right? If you go to their bookshop, the shop out on their online store, you'll see that there are a lot of categories. So when you upload your book on the platform as a writer, so when you self-publish your book, you have to choose certain tags. You have to let the reader know that this book belongs to this genre. So it could be parenting, it could be something else, it could be fiction, it could be within fiction, it could be chick lit, it could be anything. So when you pick those tags up, it helps Amazon categorize your book and slot it in the right category, also showcase it to the right kind of readers. So it's possible that your book becomes a bestseller within your category. Yes, that's a phenomenon. Yes.
Oh
and
wow,
and that's becoming more and more recognized, more and more legitimate also, I would say. Legitimate.
that's very very encouraging actually, right, for self-publishers. And so while we are on
Yes.
the self-publishing topic, you said there were three categories. You said assisted publishing, right?
Right.
And
Right.
the normal, usual, you get commissioned to do a book by the HarperCollins or Rupa or Penguin, right? Uh, Sometimes you get commissioned. When you're, do you? I mean, what would you say even for self-publishing? Z Quails. We've also got a partner in self-publishers. Okay, we have a self-publishing outfit
Okay.
which also supports and a very very reasonable price points and all of that. So we'll not get
Yeah.
into that. But can you help us understand when we are doing it in India? There are global viewers wherever you could be. You could contact us, and they could take your mentoring. Would you, and where can one start? When many people want to write, whether they're sitting in Switzerland, Geneva, or in Bombay or in Singapore or in Thailand, they don't know where to start. What would you recommend as a first step when they approach us? Where would the journey begin, and where should
Okay.
it begin?
Sure. But before that, I'll just take a couple of minutes to delineate, to just very briefly outline the three modes of publishing for complete clarity.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sure.
there is the traditional publishing model, there is assisted publishing, and there is self-publishing. In
Yeah.
traditional publishing, I spoke about that earlier. You have publishers like Penguin, HarperCollins, Hachette, Hay House, Scholastic. You have all of these guys, and of course there are more. The model is like this: I'm an author. I want to get published by one of these guys, one of these folks. So what do? I have to send them what is known as a book proposal. And a book proposal has certain specific elements. Element A is it has to have an extract of my book. Depending on what the book is, the nature of the extract may change a little bit here and there. But by and large, it has to include your introduction, that is the intro chapter, and 3 chapters which are actually going to go into the book. All right. So this is put together as one piece of the proposal. So the extract of the book comprising the intro and 3 chapters, whether that's non-fiction, fiction, it doesn't matter. But this extract has to be there. Then the other component is your profile. So you as an author, who are you? What have you done so far? Your background, a very brief, half page, three-fourth page kind of thing, not exceeding 1 page of a Word doc. Definitely not. Very brief profile, succinct profile, which is relevant to your case as an aspiring author. Why should the publisher, look at you seriously, and what do you bring to the table as an author? And very importantly, this profile should answer the question: why are you writing this book? Why should we look at you as the author of this work? So, what is your link? There has to be some connection between what you're writing and what you are. And that really strengthens your case. So I'm not saying that you can't just pick up a fiction idea and put it together and try to send them a proposal. I'm not saying that, but definitely your chances of getting selected, of the book going through and getting published, will improve if you put down this strong element of who am I, that's my profile, and why am I writing the book, why me? So that's element number 2. Element number 3 is your standing today. So you as an author or you as a writer, do you have any credentials? Attaching clips. By clips, I mean links to your writing, whether that's articles or a blog or anything else that you might have. Those links, those are called clips. They really, really help. So your standing or your track record as a writer. So these are 3 very important elements that go into a book proposal, right? Once you have the book proposal ready, you look at the website of the publishers you want to send this to. They have something called submission guidelines on the website. You follow those guidelines and send it to them. Some of them accept email contributions or email submissions. Some of them need this to be couriered or sent to them as a hard copy. But these days, more and more of them are accepting a soft copy submission also. So go to the website, understand the submission guidelines, and put this book proposal together and send it to them according to that, right? So that's your traditional publishing model. Then you wait for some of them or one of them to come back to you. If they come, hey, very nice, wonderful, and then you take the conversation forward, it might result in a deal. They will agree to publish it. So that's the logical flow. Very quickly, model number 2 is assisted publishing, which is nothing but publishing on demand. Publishing, you pay and then you get your book published. So what does it mean? You have a manuscript. It doesn't go through any evaluation process. Whatever you write, if you just pay, you find a publishing platform. There are quite a few of them, like Cinnamon Teal, Pothies, Notion Press. There are quite a few of them, and more and more are coming into the market. The idea is very simple: pay, get it published. Now, the thing is, this crunches the timeline quite a bit, whereas the traditional publishing model doesn't give you a guarantee that your book will be taken, first of all, or not. And even if it's taken, it's a clear 1 year time lag. It's a 1 year gestation period where the book goes through editing, a couple of rounds of editing, and then proofreading, and the cover is designed, and then those publishers have a queue because they're very, very sought after, right? You want to get published by them, I want to get published by them. So like I said, there's a supply-demand gap. Therefore, what happens is there's a pipeline of books, and therefore your book is slotted in the queue. Hey, boss, welcome, join the queue. So it takes time, and it's very frequently about a year after you submitted your manuscript that, after your deal is okay, that your book comes out. So that 1 year gap, 10 months, 1 year. Now, in the assisted publishing model, it can come down to maybe about 2 months or 3 months, right? From the time you submit your full manuscript, it can come down to about 2 months. The thing is, you pay for services that a publisher would provide. In the traditional model, you don't have to pay at all. It sails through completely at the publisher's cost. So they pick up a lot of the cost involved in the pre-publishing and publishing process. You don't have to pay anything at all. But in the assisted publishing process, you pay, and then they get, you can add on services like get it edited, get it book cover, designed, stuff like that, ISBN number. All this is required for a book to come out, right? So you pay, there are packages you choose, and then it comes out in a month and a half or 2. And self-publishing is the last of the models, which is by and large completely free, except that even in this case, I would recommend that editing and book design are what do you call this? They add a lot of value, right? I've seen it time and again from people that they add tremendous value. For a book to connect with the market, with the audience, it has to be a good product first of all. And the two things, apart from your writing itself, right? Obviously, your writing matters a lot. But along the way, the two other things that can push up the quality of a book and make them connect better with the readers are A, editing, and B, the design of the book, the cover design and illustrations and all that. So even in the self-publishing model, when you go through Kindle Direct Publishing, I'd recommend that you find a good editor and a professional illustrator, book illustrator, so that your manuscript is edited and enriched, and you get the right kind of illustrations in cover design also. So if you will obviously have to pay for these services if you hire good professionals, but apart from this, there is no other. You don't have to pay much, and then you put the manuscript onto the Kindle platform, like I said, and then it comes out, and this whole process is in your hands. It's easy. It's a 2-day thing, 1 or 2 days.
So I have a fundamental question now. You said assisted publishing and self-publishing, right?
Assisted publishing, self-publishing, right?
Yes. So but the first one we all know, the traditional one. So it's, and if you get selected, wow, you must be something. It's almost like on merit and on credit, right? Whatever your laurels are. But in assisted and self-publishing, it's giving a platform for every expression to happen. We are in a
Yeah,
today
yeah,
and in a democratic country, self-expression is very vital, which is what holds the fabric of the nation, right? Anybody and
yeah.
everybody can raise a voice, right? That
Yes,
is the importance
yes,
of press. That's the importance of a book, of the
right.
sword, as we call it. It's mightier than the sword. So when
You're right.
you're talking, and we don't need to be warriors, or we don't know, but we use the word very, very powerfully, right? And self-publishing, I've noticed, because if it's not just because of the demand of a certain topic, you're able to touch very many places. Now in that process, Ganesh, the question is, if assisted publishing is just about getting an ISBN and doing it, and both need a mentor, right? There's slight
Yes,
difference between the two processes. Both would
yes.
need an editor, a chief. You just can't bring just rubbish out. There are books which are brought out for, and I'm in fact a very, very prominent actor's grandfather. They've written a book on him, and while the
Hmm.
data is perfect, it's knowledge because the family has written it. The languages, tenses have gone haywire. In
Sure.
English, when the tenses go
I
haywire,
can
you don't know
imagine.
whether it's a living legend, or it is in the past, or is it today, right? So for
Hmm.
a lot of people, when you read that book, you're like very confused. So that's where you really need an editor, right? You don't know whether the person is living. Did he say this yesterday, or did he say that? A simple example of grammar, right? So that's why you still need an editor for all these things, but they've not gone through that, and they just published it. It's a very, very mammoth big book. It's selling like crazy, and it's a very recently published one, and the author is still alive, but his
Okay.
father isn't. Okay, and the author is also quite aged. And when I saw that book was called for the launch, I saw the gram. I said, hasn't somebody done something with this? Can somebody do something with it? Because it's so confused between when was this film released, when was it. Unless you put dates in the background, you wouldn't know, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and how the pages, like when they jump to some part of the history, then they go back again to the present, and then they come back. So you're thoroughly confused in the whole book, right? So these
Yes,
are
yes.
very aspects of the flow which you can't make out as an author.
No, absolutely. And let me just add to what I said earlier. So this is exactly
Yeah,
what I said earlier, which is that it all depends on the product. Yeah. Okay. Uh, and I'm saying, when I said self-expression earlier, and there's a surge in the need for that. Many people want to bring out their stories, share their knowledge, write about their life, help others, inspire others. It's great. So that passion should not, however, mean that your product is, not optimal. It's not great. Like it's like any
yeah,
other business, boss. It's like any other field. You go to a
yeah,
supermarket, or you think of products like soaps, shampoos, insurance policies. You think of restaurants. All of these are products and services, right? All of them are brands. Similarly, your
yeah,
book, when it comes out, is a brand. It becomes
yeah,
something like a product on the shelf somewhere. So it competes for attention with many other books that come out. There are thousands of books that come out every year, right? I'm kidding you not. There are thousands of books that come out just in India every year. And in that scenario, if you also bring another book out, the risk is that you become an also ran. Yes, you've written a book. It's excellent. You've written a book and you've expressed yourself. You've done whatever it is, or that adds to your credentials. Indeed, it does all of that. But do you really want it to connect with the reader, your target audience? Do you want it to shape somebody's life? Do you want it to make an impression somewhere? Do you want it to make an impact? So I always use this as my most important filter, one of moving your audience, of touching them, of helping them somehow, of achieving impact. If these matter to you, and they should matter to you, then you bloody well have a very good product out there. And when you want to have a product out there, trust me, however good you are as a writer, there are value additions that can happen along the way. So having someone coach through your process will typically bring out various layers, various facets, what that book can do, the contents of the book, the structure of the book, how you flesh it out, what chapters should you have, which aspects should you focus more on, which should you leave out, or possibly, not focus so much on. So there are a lot of these discussions, a lot of questions that I think a mentor can bring to the table, a mentor stroke editor can bring to the table. And I think those are conversations worth having because they enrich the quality of your book and they improve the quality of your book by several notches. So when it comes out in the market, well, your book stands out, or it has an increased chance of standing out from amongst the so many others out there. It has an increased chance of connecting with your audience and achieving some impact. So I'm always thinking of the quality of the product that we put out before anything else. So the mentoring process, the coaching conversations all revolve around improving, enhancing the quality of the product, the book, and making that shine through. Your voice, your message comes through very impactfully at two levels. One is at the structure, thinking, content level. Two, at the reader experience level, which is what you were mentioning earlier, which is grammar, syntax, punctuation, tense. All these can really trip you up, And as a writer, you're very close to that topic, to the manuscript, and you might not pick these up. So you might not pick up certain structural issues, certain high-level content issues. You might also not pick up certain finer aspects of grammar, syntax, style, all that. So having a coach and having these conversations along the way is your effort to ensure that your book comes out in the most impactful form, the best version.
Right. No, so Ganesh, you rightly, can you walk us through this now, the outline of the journey? What are the key milestones one has to, once I engage with you, I say, okay, Ganesh, I'd like to understand, I have a concept in mind, I have my mythological concept, and it's also a true story. I don't know where to begin, but I think it will make a very good book. I'm at this point. Sure. How does the journey begin?
Sure. This also goes back to your question. I think you mentioned this question earlier also, right? So I think the journey begins with my trying to find out, or the mentor trying to find out from you as an author, first of all, fleshing that idea or that topic or that concept in your head. All right. Having a few deep conversations about your background, the inspiration for this topic, where it came about, the context that led you to think about this. All this adds power to your manuscript when it finally comes out. So, which is why these early conversations help a lot. So that is where I would typically begin. And the next step is to write out a concept note for the book. Okay. And I will guide you, and I can take you through that. I will tell you what needs to be done, and I will validate it, vet it, improve it, and all that. But the concept note has certain fields regarding the choice of the target audience, the structure of the book, how do you flesh it out, the kind of chapters that you see going in, even if they are work in progress chapters, very tentative chapters, it doesn't matter. These can always be fine-tuned later. But like I said, after the first couple of conversations about why are you writing this book, the intent, etc., the concept note is a logical next step where you fill in details such as the intended output, impact that you want, or the purpose behind writing the book, the target audiences that you want to do it, write the book for, and fleshing it out, the sequencing and the chapterization, right? So these are some of the fields. I'm giving you a flavor of the concept note. These are some of the fields that go into it. Once you write out the concept note, and we discuss it, I ask you further questions, probe, so that we fine tune it, and then we have a nice, solid concept note that becomes a guide for whatever is going to happen later. Because without this, what happens is, in our passion, you as an author have the topic in your head, you've researched it, you have a lot of knowledge about it, right? I grant you that. So it's very easy to get misled and or carried away by the enthusiasm and write. So it shouldn't become that. It's not just about writing. It's about writing for a purpose, for an audience, keeping the market in mind. So it's about bringing your strong point, your story, your topic, whatever, and marrying it with a certain larger purpose and with a market. So in order to marry these, to bring these together, a sharp document like the concept note is important. It helps you sharply articulate your thoughts, put it on paper, get more clarity, and during the discussions, you get further clarity. And chapterization, like I said, right? In the concept note, you also chapterize it. So that gives you an idea of what the writing journey is going to be for yourself. So if you're talking about fiction, which is based on Indian mythology, well, so I will try to narrow it down, sharpen it, and then you will ultimately understand, is it coming from the Ramayana, is it coming from the Gita, is it coming from somewhere else? Who is it meant for? What are the building blocks of this? What are the possible chapters in this? So you yourself see the whole canvas of the book unfolding in front of your eyes as you craft the concept note. So it gives you... Sorry, I'll just complete it.
Sure.
It just gives you that, like I said, the canvas unfolding, and you're able to get a picture. End to end, bhaiya, this is how my book is going to look. I have more connect with the book now, and I'm more confident, and I know, therefore, this is how I need to write it, and this is the kind of research I need to do, and there are certain things I will leave out, certain things I will put in the book. So ye sari clarity aa jati hai na. That gives the whole writing journey and writing effort more power and more focus.
You used a very big term, Ganesh. You said research. I'll come to that a little in a while, because that's a term which gets a lot of writers hassled. So I'll come to that. I'll leave it on the side at the moment. But in this journey, what you just said sounded very simple. Okay, I'm sure there's time. There will be some 6 to 8 months at least where this guidance happens and the book comes out. I'm assuming earlier it used to take 1 to 2 years and 3 years, and don't know, maybe a lot more in the tradition.
Right.
But
after the concept note, sorry, just complete this. After the concept note is over, we're still in just one step of that process, right?
Okay.
Then you have to write, right? Now that you know the end-to-end
I still have
picture,
to write. Yes, not
you
to forget.
have to now. Boss, you've come to me to write right? The intent is to bring a book out.
Okay.
So now is the time to write. Enough of thinking, enough of analyzing, enough of fleshing out. Please put pen to paper. So you write, and then as the coach, I'm there along with you to hold your hand, to clarify doubts that might emerge along the process about the plot, about the crafting, about research itself, about whatever, right? These are critical aspects of writing a book. And as you write it chapter by chapter, you finish one chapter at a time, you send it to me, you move on to the next chapter, send that to me, move on to the next, send that to me, aise karke, the chapters get written one after another. Your focus is only on one chapter, and you're not worried about the other chapters because you have that end-to-end view. You know what has gone in first, what's going to come next. You're moving according to a plan, in a direction. You know that. So you can confidently focus on researching and writing that particular chapter. And as you finish, you send it to me, I give you my top-level feedback. Right? Because the big plus of having a mentor is those critical questions and conversations that we have all along the way. Plus, as an editor, I also give you feedback on the chapter as they get written, so that if there are big loopholes, if there are big minuses somewhere, if there are things that you vary up in a major way, if you're going off the road, then I can point it out all along the way. We don't have to wait for all the chapters to be done before I point these things out, right? So some of this critiquing, some of this constructive feedback happens along the way. which you as a writer can incorporate in further chapters also. And then the chapters get written. Then comes the structural editing part. Let me just explain this. Bear with me for a couple of
Sure,
minutes.
sure.
Uh,
Yeah, we are waiting for these only.
yeah. So once the first
Yeah.
draft of the manuscript is written in this manner, uh, you have the whole manuscript now, right? It comes to me for structural editing, and after structural editing, it will be copy edited and proofread. So structural editing में क्या होता है? What happens? I look at the content blocks once again. I keep the concept note in hand as my reference, and I look at the chapterization. I look at within each chapters what are the content blocks, what are the aspects dealt with, what is the flow, is it flowing smoothly, is it flowing seamlessly, is the language too clunky, too jargon ridden, or is it understandable for the target audience that you have in mind? And so aspects like that, which is a high level look at, let's say there's a jigsaw puzzle and I'm giving it a helicopter view, right? And I'm seeing, are all the pieces of the puzzle in place? Am I able to make out the puzzle in toto? Am I able to understand what's what? And have all the pieces been given enough importance? So stuff like that. These are the structural components. I will give you suggestions and comments and ask you questions in the manuscript at various points. I will put them as comment boxes, and then send this back to you. What do you do as a writer then, as the author? You get this from me, and then you go through this document and understand what comment has come where. Is that comment actually a suggestion? Is it an alternative? Have I said that somewhere? Certain, you can add a little bit of meat here. This part seems weak, but it's important, so please add meat. Some other part is superfluous. I think this can be knocked out. Some other part, you spend too much time or too much attention to that. It doesn't need so much. Then there are things that you've left out completely. So these questions, comments, and suggestions you will digest from the document, and then you will understand. Okay, these are great. I will also mark that out. So what's great about the document? What's nice about this manuscript? What works for it? So the pluses are clearly pointed out. So that gives you confidence, that gives you validation. Yeah, I think for an author, my God, it's so emotionally important to feel validated. So that validation is right there. Along with that, you also get suggestions for improvement, like I explained just now. And you go to work again. So you will rewrite certain localized parts depending on the comments that I've put down. So, इसमें थोड़ा research extra चाहिए और नहीं चाहिए. This needs to be deleted. A little bit needs to be added here. All of that gets done by you as the author. Now, once you do that, we have finished the structural editing process or that stage. Okay? And now you have the revised manuscript. You will send it back to me now. I have the revised manuscript with me. Okay. And now we move to the next step in the editing process, which is copy editing, followed by proofreading. Technically speaking, they're both different parts of the process, but they very often go hand in hand, and you will understand why when I tell you this. This is now to run a fine-tooth comb through the manuscript. All right. Pehle, we've questioned and debated the logic, the big content pieces, the flow, all of that. Done. Now is the time to look at the finer nuances, which is grammar and language related. So punctuation se leke sentence structure is very important. Are your sentences clunky or are they very easy to read? So all of this focuses on the reader experience. Otherwise, while your content might be good, your reader will keep tripping up. Yeah, just keep tripping up and stumbling over sentences, over words, over tense, over uppercase, lowercase, over dates, over all sorts of stuff. So there are a lot of nuances which a professional, so there is skill involved, there is experience involved, there is judgment involved. So as a professional, I go through all these, like I said, a fine-tooth comb, right? And correct. So jahan pe there is scope for improvement. If the sentence is too long, it can't be too long. It can't be abrupt also. So like I said, it's not just about English language. It's not just about grammar. It's about judgment. It's about experience. So one brings all that to the document, and you go through it, you make those corrections, and then once you've done this, you do it a second time. So there are 2 rounds of checking and cleaning up involved.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. And as an editor, what one does here is that after the first round of copy editing and proofreading is done, I put it away. I put it away for a clear 2 or 3 days, possibly even more, but at least a few days, to refresh my perspective. Otherwise, the point is that one becomes too close to the manuscript, and boss, one just starts seeing word after word after word. One should never,
Yes.
yeah. So one doesn't want to fall into that trap, right? So which is why I give it space. I put some distance between the manuscript and me, and go back to it for a round 2 of copy editing and proofreading. After I did do this, now I'll say that this text, document is ready for publishing ready. Of course, I send it back to you. You read through it. You might want to say, hey, why is this happen? Why is that happen? Whatever. But by and large, the process ends here, except for one critical element, which is design. Design of the book is important. It's like slapping on a label for the book, like slapping on a label for a bottle of shampoo, for a biscuit packet, for whatever. So it has to catch your eye. It has to catch the eye of the reader. So the design is important. It has to be kick-ass. It has to be absolutely in sync with your target audience and with your topic. Other than cover design, that is front and back cover, both have to be designed. Other than that, you might want to put in illustrations. Illustrations add a lot of value to your textual content. Otherwise, it's just it's like verbal diarrhea, right? For the reader, it might be great content for you, and it definitely is. But then you're passionate about it, right, as an author. But for the reader, think of reader experience. Can you break the monotony of words? Can you break the textual monotony? So can you give them images, graphs, illustrations, cartoons, Jessabiho? Yeah, so visuals that enliven the whole narrative, that make them relate better to the point that you're making there. Those visuals are also important. Sorry. Once you add or overlay the cover design and the illustrations onto your text document that we've proofread already, then you have a manuscript that's completely ready for publishing. And then it depends on, you go on to KDP or whatever, then you upload it, publish it, whatever. So this is the entire journey. So we see you through till the book is out there.
Okay, so that's a very comprehensive journey. So multiple questions came up while you were describing it. Number one is there any specific topic as a chief mentor that you steer towards unconsciously, consciously, and hence, say, okay, sometimes it happens that we might get students or candidates or writers who give you a topic which you don't like or not. Does that impact the whole journey? It's a off the cuff question.
Yeah. So what's your question? What can you just tell me the question again? Sorry.
The question is, if it is not a topic of interest, suppose we have multiple writers who come and aspiring writers who give you a topic which is not Ganesh's as a chief mentor's interest.
Okay.
What would you do in that case? I mean, would we find another mentor? How would we work with that? I'm sure you'll have to find another mentor, right?
Yeah. So what happens is that interest. Has it ever happened? No, it's not happened, and I'll explain. It's for a very interesting. It's for a very interesting reason. Interest doesn't play a role in this at all, Candy.
Okay, great.
My interest. Yeah. So a mentor's interest or an editor's interest does not play a role in this process because one is looking at it very objectively. That is the definition of the role itself. The definition of the role is to act as a coach and mentor, and once you put that hat on, asking questions from my understanding of A, the market, B, the publishing landscape, and C, the topic of the book. That's it. So just the understanding and the objectivity is what are the key inputs or the key traits. Therefore, interest. So even if I'm not interested, it just doesn't matter. One learns to put that aside and look at it very objectively. For me, what's very important is your intent, your interest, your context, your motivation, right? So, which is why I mentioned those important, powerful questions and conversations that we have with an author. So, if that's clear, then there's no problem at all. Yeah,
that's awesome. Go on. That's awesome, because the similar thing we have for script writing or story writing for a film.
Yeah, yeah, right.
It doesn't matter if I like horror or don't like horror or like humor. The mentor
Absolutely.
will be dispassionate about it and help you on the
Correct.
journey. Right? That's the
Yes,
idea.
yes, 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 yes.
The other
Absolutely.
question related to this was the ghostwriting part. A lot of our doubts are around that, but I have the idea, but I don't know how to write. English, Hindi doesn't matter. The language is not the point. I
Hmm.
mean, come on, where do I start learning at a different age? So, would you help
Correct.
as a
Correct.
chief mentor for Dream Books Films find a ghostwriter for somebody who has a fabulous idea, can narrate it, talk, sit on a dictaphone or a mic and tell you the whole thing, but cannot write for nuts? Where
Right.
writing is a
Right.
skill, right? It's also, some people don't want to learn it.
Absolutely.
Like even
Absolutely. You're right.
screenwriting, we don't take workshops of screenwriting where you're going to learn the craft. We're going to get you a treatment writer or screenwriter, and you pay the
Yeah.
person for the job, of course, right?
Okay. Correct.
So,
Correct.
what's your
I
take
think
on that?
I no, no. I think that model works. Yeah, even for a book, it's eminently possible to find a suitable ghostwriter and work with that ghostwriter to make sure that the book comes out. I think that's possible.
Okay, so we can find ghostwriters,
Yes, yes,
and we
yes.
do have the concept. I mean,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
Of
so we
course, of
do
course.
work with that.
Yes, we
The
do. We
other
can do
part
that.
is Ganesh. Ganesh, whilst writing is not an intellectual pursuit anymore, as we all know. I mean, it used to be, and a lot of people used to take that literature student, and hence I will write a book, all that. But that zamana is gone. A lot of people
Acha.
are just getting up and writing because it's an expression,
Okay.
right? Those days
Right.
of
Right.
being, that elite stuff, that whole doesn't need to be elite. You have a story, you write, you want to express, talk, right? Coming to this point is, this research word gets a lot of writers and thinkers, or even non-thinkers, a little frazzled. What would you give as advice for that? Because a lot of people don't like doing research, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
research is I know. So writing a book and writing is all creative, it gets your juices flowing and it's all about putting a name out there. You become an author, a published author.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent stuff, right? So it's very, very emotive, very creative and all that. In between comes this bloody spanner in the works, research. So, yeah, it can be quite a dampener, yeah. Yes, but it's important. It's important for many, many kinds of books. I'll tell you where research is not important. Yeah, that's the easier thing. Just get it out or out of the way. Research is not important if it's just your story. If it's Candy writing an autobiography, or Candy writing a memoir. A memoir is also nothing but a part of your life. An autobiography is where you write about your life in entirety, covering various aspects, various time zones, all of it, giving the reader a full picture. A memoir need not be that. It can just be a slice of your life. It can be a particular incident, a time period. It can be a particular dimension of your life. But memoirs and autobiographies go hand in hand because they're just your life story. So in that case, you don't need to research it all. It's all there in your mind. You just need to put pen to paper, boss. Okay. But whether it's fiction, there are the short stories for children, for adults, whether that's or a long, a full-length novella, or self-improvement book, knowledge sharing, life lessons, jo bhi ho. I think an element of research is important. It adds tremendous value to the book. So it's worthwhile spending some time and effort on that. How much research really depends on your topic. It can go up, it can go down, less, more, all possible, but really depending on your topic. So research the way I look at it myself is, if you look at it as a critical input to your book and set aside a little bit of time and energy for that right at the beginning, I think it eases the pain a lot, really a lot. Research का pain क्या होता है ना? So why people are feeling they balk at research or they find it tough or whatever is because you don't plan it out properly. I think that's the scenario when you find it a problem. If you don't plan it, if you just start first writing, and if that is your sole motivator to finish writing it ASAP, then I agree. Then it can't get done, boss. I wouldn't be comfortable that way. The better way to do it is to plan out your process, understand the components of the book, flesh it out, figure out where research is important, for which chapters or for what kind of content is research important. Therefore, what research am I going to do? Does that involve talking to people, reading books, other books, blogs, articles, speaking to experts? Any of this. It could be a mix usually. Or in the case of fiction, it can be speaking to people, but it can also be location research, so because fiction is
Yeah.
often based in different locations, so you
Correct.
have to do a reconnaissance of the location, you have to
Yes.
visit
Yes.
places, and there is something in fiction called world building. Yeah, world, WRLD, world building, because fiction is a world in itself, right? What are you doing? You're creating a world for the reader, boss. You're taking him on an escape journey. So what is that world? That world need not be yours and my world, Candy. It doesn't have to be where you're
Sure.
living in Pune. It doesn't have to be where I'm living in Bangalore. Not at all. It can be a world, and very often that's the case in fiction, where a world is completely created with characters, with its own culture, with its own symbolism, with events, with its own timeline, anything. So, world building is itself a kind of research, an element of research in fiction. तो ये सारी बातें one has to understand, discuss, and with a mentor or whatever, understand, put it down, and then allocate time for it. If you do that, then I think it eases the pain a lot.
Right. Okay. So that's a lot on the research. I think a genuine writer who's really embedded would want to. So,
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah, yeah,
writing something
yeah.
about Santorini, I want to describe the place. I want to talk of people, the characters in it, right? So much to write. So
बिल्कुल.
coming back, yeah, coming to a pivotal point of this point where you said, you can get a ghostwriter, research karna padta hai, and fiction, non-fiction, various, the genres. What, according to you, Ganesh, you've published your own book, it's a massive, crazy, I mean, seller, and doing so great, and on CEOs, that to young 20 CEOs. I want to ask you a question. When you have spoken about these elements, who all followed it and did a good job of research, of doing this patiently, making sure they have put in their experience, if it's a memoir or whatever. What are these couple of authors who've done it right, and who could have done it better? Would you have any insight to that with names or
Yeah.
books that come to
No,
your
no, no,
mind?
no, no. Of course, of course. So I'll give you one of the best examples. Yeah, all-time bests. Okay, in my mind is Frederick Fawcett. Okay, so that's one kind of book. It doesn't matter. You might write your own kind of book, but I'm just saying he's written a
Yeah.
lot of his passion or his forte was to write thrillers, right? Thrillers
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
spanned various sub themes and all that. But you will notice that, boss, every book of his is supremely researched. So whether it's a plot about the Cold War, whether it's something about the Secret Service of Britain, MI6, whether it is something else, any kuch bhi ho. He even wrote books that involved, there's a book called Devil's Alternative, which involves shipping. A lot of the book is about the shipping industry, ships on the high seas, stuff like that. But jo bhi ho, my point is that I've seen very, very few people research out their plots, their stories like him. Yeah. वो एक बंदा एक मिसाल है. He's one. He set the bar definitely.
Apart from Harry Potter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Harry Potter. I'm coming to that, but Harry
Crazy.
Potter.
Yeah.
No, I'll come to that. Harry Potter is world building, boss. That's not research in a conventional sense. I mentioned world building right earlier. So
Yes.
that's a fabulous, or even J.R. Tolkien's books. They're all fabulous examples of how worlds can be built within books and how they can be carried forth from one book to another to another to another. So Enid Blyton did a lot of stuff in her own way, right? Going back to another era, and now I'm talking children's fiction. But I'm saying that the key task of a book, and whatever be that book, and as a writer, therefore, is to show more than tell. That's a great rule of thumb to have. Show rather than tell, which means show as in when you can, instead of using, it's like saying that a picture is the equivalent of 1,000 words, boss. Correct? A picture puts it far more beautifully than 1,000 words would.
Describe it.
So
Describe
here,
it. Don't
the thing
talk
is to
about it.
bring alive the sounds, the smells, the place, the landmarks, the people, the culture, the customs, all of that. So bring it alive through your words, which is why show, don't tell. Okay? So you're
It's a
employing
big,
words
it's
as
a
the.
big tip. It's a big one even for films, I think. Yeah. So yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It is. Just don't go on and on. So using the right metaphors, using the right comparisons, the right analogies, the right turns of phrases, talking about the right things, bringing that place and culture and people and everything alive is a critical part of the writing craft.
And that's why closer home, I like Tenali Ram, Malgudi Days.
Of
These are
course.
simple.
Yes. Yes.
There
Yes. Yes.
is a
Yeah.
reason why you remember those, and I still like them. I mean, I've traveled the world, but a Tenali Ram or a Akbar
Or a
Birbal
Malgudi
and
days.
Malgudi Days are the ones I
Yes.
open when I'm stressed. I want to read those again.
Correct.
Why?
Correct.
It
Correct.
is because of this. Is how he
Absolutely.
describes.
Absolutely, yes. And see, therefore, there is an element of imagination involved where you sit down and you put together worlds and you spend time in creating that world. If it doesn't match with your real world, right? If you're not writing about what's
Yeah.
really happening here, that's one world building activity. But if, like I said, for Frederick Fawcett and for many other authors, for Enid Blyton also, so they drew inspiration, knowledge, all of it from their culture, their context, and their world, right? It's the world you and I live in. So they did not create worlds within their books. What
Mhm.
they did was they brought out characters, but the settings were very real. The settings were very Britain, rural countryside Britain for Enid Blyton. It's all kinds of other contexts for our Frederick Fawcett. For R.K. Narayan, it was the Mysore and that belt, Mysore, Gundalpet, areas around Mysore. So there are very
Yeah.
strong real life cultural moorings that authors operate with. So for that, a little bit of thought, attention has to be given, a great deal of thought and attention.
True. So, on that point, what are the pitfalls one must avoid? What can make or break a book? And I asked you about which author would you say, or which book could have been better written? I know there are so many examples of that, but again, is the audience going to say that? Is the reader going to tell us that, or does a writer already know? So, there are two questions here, basically.
Yeah, so
So,
I think at one level the writer has to know. Yeah, um, see, there's one proviso, there's one huge, large disclaimer, 32 font size, bold, underlined, which is there really is no telling for taste. Okay, there's no telling for taste. Whenever it comes to any work of creation, any work of art, whether that be a painting or a film or a book, I can't guarantee that hey, Candy, you will like the book that I write, or that I will like the book you write. So those guarantees can't be given, but experience, judgment, and reading of the market, reading of your audience, and their sensibilities, nuanced understanding of that becomes very critical. So that's a very strong input into the whole writing and book creation process. Now that a writer can have, but if they find that they don't have it much, or if they need assistance or whatever, so then a mentor becomes the right person to provide that. But either which way, it has to be part of that writing process. So one writes with a strong grasp of who one is writing for, the
yeah.
sensibilities and expectations and understanding of that person, of that profile, and then one writes. So in that case, it's unlikely that you will go off the mark or you will be wide off the mark. That's unlikely by and large. You can cut down the chances at least. While there is no guarantee that the book will become a bestseller and all that, nobody can give you a guarantee. If someone's giving you a guarantee, there's a problem there, right? But you can,
Yeah.
yeah, you can enhance your chances of being close to the reader's sensibilities and understanding what will click, what will not click. I think that's part of the process.
You're
Yeah.
right. Okay. No, no. So well said. So pitfalls to avoid. I mean, is what can one avoid? One is, of course, rushing through it, not being patient. I think that's the biggest pitfall in this kind of a writing of a book, right?
Right, right, right.
People
Yes,
get very
yes, yes.
impatient very quickly. Everyone wants results. It's
Correct,
like,
correct, correct. Yes, yes.
I think that
Yeah,
one.
that's very, very important. Yes, yeah. You can't rush through it, and you can't expect that the book comes out, within a month and a half, or 3 weeks, or whatever. So I have people come to me saying, "Hey, how fast can you edit this book? Or how fast can we, from if they come to me from scratch, that's the title or just
Yeah.
a topic." Yeah, so the quickness is, I understand it's important, and one isn't saying that one has to sit back for 1 or 2 years and then say the manuscript is going to be ready only after that. But
Yeah.
but
All of this is really dependent on the topic, boss, on what you want to write about. Now,
Yeah,
so one, I'm talking about myself. So I'm saying that I'm keen to see that you do justice to it. And that to me is the biggest yardstick by which you have to measure the success of your effort. Are you, first of all, bloody doing justice to it? And am I helping you do justice to it? Are you
perfect.
bringing the juice, I want to use that word juice, out of the
Yes,
book? And then it becomes a beautiful work of creation that you're confident of talking about, confident of selling, putting it up on Amazon, sending it to a publisher. Jo bhi ho. That's your mark. That's your work of art. It's a creation. And I want to set the benchmark there.
right,
In the process, therefore, there is thinking, there is questioning, there is debating, there is writing, there is researching. All of it needs time. So this is not a cookie cutter formula. It's not a cookie cutter process. The process is well laid out, but the craft, the dynamics of the craft, that's, if you can't just say, hey, presto, let the manuscript appear, and then voila, it appears. No, it doesn't happen that way. So you have your moods, you have the craft, you have the dynamics of the craft, you have research, you have questions to be asked and answered, and there is a process, right? So give it time, give it a few months at least, and dedicate yourself to that effort. Set aside time, to go along with it and to follow the process and see it through to its conclusion. I think that way you get a great book out here.
okay. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I had in mind. I also thought, if I wanted to write my book and I was writing something, can I someday see it, converted into a series or a web series? Today, everybody is running towards that, right? So chief mentors also say, ठीक है, book लिखो भाई, पहले अपना script तो लिखो, then take the next step, right? Because not
Yeah, yeah,
everyone can do. Again, the point
right.
is your head. There is no, what do you call it? There's no machine today, or AI is not yet that intelligent to take out everything that's in here and put it onto on a book. Right?
Absolutely,
It's not
absolutely.
yet.
Yes,
It's
yes,
not yet. You never know. One
yes,
day we will
yes.
have that too.
I know.
So on,
I wish
yeah. So
not.
on that, you why not? You,
I
in
said
fact,
I
you
wish
would like it.
not. No, yaar, I'm in two minds about this actually. While AI and machine learning and technology definitely has its place in the world in a scheme of things, I think for works of creation, there are huge problems in bringing too much of technology in. A little bit here and there as an enabler. See, for instance, when I speak about self-publishing, when we talk about that, that is technology enabled, right? Internet technology enabled. That's a huge boon. It's an outlet for people to put their books and so many people to bring out their books. But वो सब ठीक है, but when it comes to the core process of creation, I think I'm very circumspect, boss. I think still there is a lot to be said about the human mind, the way we emote, the way we connect, the way we judge, so judgment, emotions, sentiments, creativity within the mind, our own native intelligence, knowledge, all of these are stuff that are invaluable, yeah, priceless. So
Yeah,
that's the
priceless.
part that yeah.
Absolutely. So, is in what can make a book? I think is what everyone wants to know. And there are self-publishing, people who are touting themselves as the best self-publishing houses and best blogs. Go and see how people have done their stuff there. Is it a good idea for somebody who's has done one book maybe, so has seen a little bit of success? I know there are various kinds of people, right? Have seen
Right,
one
right.
book, okay, ठीक है, book chalta hai, I have to keep pushing it, I have to sell, find my own distribution system. India has got a lot of that, right? Find your own distribution system, whatever the ratios are of financing and all that, commercials. But
Yeah.
uske baad, do I really need to go back to the drawing board and get a chief mentor or a mentor like you? I'm writing my second book, suppose. Now, I think it is a good idea. My answer to that
I,
is
I
yes.
I agree. I
Because
think I agree. Yeah, go on, go on.
yeah, because in the first book I didn't use a mentor. There are many like this. We have a lot of people who say, I didn't use a mentor. Tabhi, it was like, I said, that's why, where is your book now? I would always ask that.
Yes,
What are you doing with
yes,
the
yes,
book?
yes.
Where is it?
Correct, correct.
So it is help. So would you, once we've done this journey of the book, Ganesh, what happens? Does it go online? Where is that? When does that birthday happen of the baby?
The birthday is when you choose to launch it. So first of all, it has to be available as a book somewhere. Traditional channel से वो कोई publisher निकाल रहा हो, or if you're publishing it yourself on Kindle Direct Publishing, whichever way, I'm saying that the book, first of all, has to be available for purchase, right? Available at a
Uh,
retail store, online, jo bhi hai.
so how
Now,
does a
if that's
self-publisher do that with us? How does you
so,
could describe the process?
so the process is that your manuscript is ready, and we can actually publish it. Get it, put it up on Kindle for the author. That then it's available as a Kindle imprint, as a Kindle book. Once it's available on Kindle, it gets fed into the Kindle database. So people with a Kindle device, reading device or an app, can find it in their database. It's there in the catalog. They can search for the book by name. It gets featured, all of that, right? So it's available there for them to pick up, to download, and to read. So that process of putting it out there can also be done. Number one. Number two is, if that is there, if you've done that, then it's up to you, the author, to announce it to the world, saying, hey, my book is out there, and please pick it up and read. It's available for you to buy and read. There is a point that I wanted to bring out earlier, I kind of forgot, which is that it's great for everybody to write, and everybody is writing today, or many people are writing, right? I said that earlier. But are you giving yourself a chance to stand out from the other authors out there? Is a question you should ask. So building what I call the author brand is important, and it's a process that starts before the book is out. All right. So if you're seriously thinking about writing a book, then I'd encourage you to think about this bit also. And this is like while
Very
the
good.
baby is being, it's like while the baby is being birthed, the book is still not out. It's still a few months away. That's when your process of building your author brand should start. That's again a process where I think a lot of thought goes in. It is to say, otherwise, what happens when the book comes out, boss? The world doesn't know you. Who knows you? And why should they pick up your book? How will it stand out against thousands of books that I mentioned earlier that come out every year? It's crazy, man. So whatever you can do to enhance your own chances of standing out and for your book to have a certain appeal, so that comes, one, from the content of the book, from the title of the book, but very importantly, it also comes from who you are and how many people out there know you. Do you already have some sort of recognition? That's what I mean by a brand. So building a brand is a process. There are variables involved here, and I think it's kind of too detailed for us to go into here, right? I mean, given the time now, but
Sure.
very briefly, it is to understand who you are, what kind of platforms, online, offline, you have to be there, how to build a follower base, how to build some kind of traction for yourself. Yeah, all of this, if done well, a few months before the book is out, will really put your book on a pedestal. So then, hey, presto, this book is out there it's out there on Kindle. I've published this myself. Then when you say that, make that announcement anywhere in any of your social circles or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or wherever, then people are already interested. They know you, they've seen your work, they know something about who you stand, who you are. Then the interest for the book is more. Then more and more people are likely to pick it up.
Right. No, so well said. I mean, I like this build your author brand. I think that's where it actually should start. Your own identity. What do you want? Why are you doing this? Right. So, a couple of authors like Chitra Dev Karuni, she sits in the US. She writes only about mythological voices, right? So she's written Panchali from her standpoint, how she saw the Mahabharata. Very powerfully written, beautifully written book. Who would have thought that, right? I mean, it's an idea,
Right.
but the depth of the thought process is amazing in the book. So many people have tried after that. Kavita Kane has written about how Sita felt in the story. What was
Sure.
Sita's take? I'm just giving mythological, very. These
Correct.
are books which are, quick to finish, quick to read, entertaining. It makes up all that, light reading for us.
They're light reads, yes.
Yeah, very, very light. Everyone doesn't want the reality, right? Everyone just wants to. And then PG Woodhouse is one end of the spectrum, which was, I grew up with PG Woodhouse. I mean,
So did I. Yes, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
so nice. And a lot of English there, right? So a lot of English gets brushed up, and a lot of different kind of a satire and humor. So not everyone identifies with that again, right? Not everyone identifies with Charlie Chaplin films, right? They think it's very self-destructive, or these tones that you
Yeah,
get.
very, very morose sometimes.
not only morose, also this like self pity, right? Self pity,
True,
or
true, true.
Bean, Mr. Bean also. He is very, I mean, funny, but you feel sad for
Yeah.
him at the other side, right? There's a both sides. So one has to, but very powerful brands. I mean, these are, if one wants to make something, write something on Charlie Chaplin, you can
Yeah.
relate to
Yeah.
it in any form, right? Or
Yes.
Lucille, right? A lot of our icons. But today
Yeah, yeah.
there are these kind of icons. We're getting all fictionary icons like Harry Potter and what is that, Avatar, right? Very very different genres have suddenly emerged because of the AI, where we are playing machine games. A lot of
Yeah.
people are
So
involved in
I
that. So
think yes. So our worlds are changing, our societies are changing, cultures are changing. Uh, there are many enablers for that, not just technology, but many enablers, factors that drive all these. But the fact is, as we move along in the time scale, of this universe, then I think changes are inevitable, and every one of us picks up cues from our society, our culture, our moorings, like I said, and projects further from there. So the base is always our moorings. Somewhere, whether you know it or not, or recognize it or not, the author is influenced by that. Even Tolkien, and even the Avatar, and even your
yeah,
Harry Potter. So all of them. So there's some seed which is rooted in the current, and then you project, you throw yourself into the vast unknown, which is the future, and a different world. It need not be the future. It can be any time. The time
yeah,
scale itself is different, like I said. So a different world. So then you go into a process of creation. Now, the because you mentioned Charles Dickens, and we were speaking of R.K. Narayan earlier, and Frederick Fawcett, etc., the times have changed drastically from when Charles Dickens, and then R.K. Narayan, etc., where, and even Chitra Divakaruni, Chitra Banerjee, and Jhumpa
yeah,
Lahiri. Jhumpa Lahiri explores the migrant world. She's the voice of the Indian diaspora. Especially with strong female characters, right? So she's taken up a slice of life. She's looking at it through that filter. Um, Today, what's happening is books get written not just for entertainment. Earlier, a predominant section, or percentage of books were written for entertainment, some for enrichment. By enrichment, I mean education, enlightenment, inspiration, all of that, right? But entertainment use a huge part of it. And earlier, the channel available to authors was just one. Yeah, you had no other option. If you wanted to write a book, boss, there was
yeah,
no Kindle, there was no assistant, but nothing. You had to send it as a book proposal to the traditional publishers, and then you'd wait it out, and then you chance your luck. You take rejection after rejection after rejection. Many famous authors who've subsequently become famous have rejections in their past, and that's something that we don't know. They have been rejected multiple times. They've ditched their drafts. Those drafts are now part of their memorabilia. So when, let's say, Charles Dickens becomes famous, or when this who's the humorist we spoke of? Apna,
Woodhouse,
Woodhouse, sorry, Woodhouse. So when
Woodhouse.
they become famous, all of them have rejected manuscripts in their godowns, in their houses, in their attics. So one, it's surprising, but that's the truth. Rejections were there then. Rejections are there today. Rejections are going to be there tomorrow. Market rejections, publisher rejections, whoever. But my point is not that. Here I'm saying that they had only one channel to take, and that they had to follow that. Today we have opportunities. Today we have multiple channels. Today self-publishing is there. Today there are these expert resources and professionals available. Today, I think, therefore, it's far more democratized for an aspiring author. So it's easier. There are resources at your disposal. There are platforms and channels at your disposal through which you can bring out your book far more easily. So give it your best shot.
So you make it sound very interesting and very, very easy. And that is what we like about mentors who encourage us, whom we can argue with and say, no, this is my standpoint. And so I think this is for all of us. We are almost at the fag end of our panel. But I must say this is, has been very interesting for me, Ganesh. You know why? Because I'm thinking now that maybe a book review on certain authors would be a very good practice for sending it out to people and saying join our book review, like we do movie
Sure.
reviews, right? So book reviews are very interesting. We need to figure the format out, of course. And yeah, like you said, people wrote it for enrichment and all today, and they took a lot of rejections. This is a wonderful topic actually for the next panel. I want to take this off because it's a very emotional drain on
Yes.
people who don't know how to write and are scared of rejection, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Nobody wants rejection today, let me tell you. It's like, okay, my chief mentor doesn't like it, I'll find somebody else. If I can't do this, that's why the democratization of being self-publishing, right? I mean, if
Right.
nobody wants me, I'll still go ahead and publish it, I don't care. Right? So it's today's age and stage is that no one wants to hear rejection. No one has that subconscious bandwidth left, I would say. At a conscious and a subconscious level, that's the fear, right? Fear of writing, fear of
Right.
emoting, fear of expression, and it's all underlying. It's the sign of the times, because there's just too much, right? There's lots to write about. There are lots of topics. Was it there earlier? Yes, but there were no platforms. Now that there
Right.
are a multitude of, everyone's got a chance, right? So on that note, I will, in the next panel discussion with you and Brahmanand, I definitely want to understand this particular part of how you guys dealt with
Sure.
it when you guys
Sure.
wrote
Sure.
the book, because your own personal journey is inspirational. Your own personal
Absolutely.
understanding of how you manage this. You end up being a personal coach to people, right? Instead of a mindfulness coach, as I call it. I mean, that's
Right.
what you end up being. But I do,
Right.
this is, if you want to get over the phobia and the fear of writing, I do encourage everyone. You've got a very warm mentor here who is open to listening, who has the depth, the breadth, and the length and breadth of topics, and will be very dispassionate and help you in the journey. So reach out to us. Ganesh Vancheeswaran is always there to this thing, and he will format the structure, the program sessions, because it's going to be done according to everyone's needs. There won't be one, 10 people in the same session. We won't be doing that, especially when it's a very copyrighted issue or copyrighted story. All writers are copyright, right?
Right.
Nobody is not
Yes.
going to pick from here and there. But Ganesh, this is another topic I will take up in the next panel, and I'm very enthused to do it. Where at the end of this is, nothing is original, as Einstein said. Everything
Yeah.
is inspired by something. Okay.
Yeah.
While I do not support plagiarism at all, let me put this out there. For me, copywriting, giving credits is a very important trait that we must learn from other countries. I see this particular thing, having been
Absolutely.
outside India.
Yes.
I have seen a
Yes.
lot of people just pick up, from here and there, and it's very saddening. And also, it's very
Yes.
sad about the third question I leave for the next time is, what do you do when you see photocopies of books being sold for 60 rupees on the streets? You know, that's a big
Yeah.
industry by itself. And Gurucharan Das, when he came to Singapore, he addressed this.
Piracy.
He did not take the word piracy. He said the shadow economy of India makes he used the word Hindi word chula, makes the kitchens run of people, of that
Yeah.
particular. So you can't say that about, once you're in India you understand it, but when you're outside you don't like it, right? So you feel bad about it. I'm against plagiarism completely. This photocopying business, and what do you do with that? I mean, it's a book world, right? So hence we are talking about it, and now it's all
Yeah.
e.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
digital mein kahan se photocopy, kya photocopy, right? There is nothing like that anymore. So that is gone away. So we have some very
Right.
interesting topics coming up, and which kind of story will be very good, Ganesh and Brahma, I will ask you both, that one can approach and make a web series. How does one know one has a golden goose or a nugget in hand? Only because only a chief mentor can say that, because you've read the whole landscape and now you're saying, okay, that's an idea, but that's something which will go far, and yet you won't
Yeah.
break my heart if it doesn't go very far. You're going to say it, let's make it a little more interesting, right? So you've got both
Right.
the roles to play. So I'm
Yeah.
very honored and having happy, Ganesh, to have heard your. You almost took us through a theory session. I'm like, Ganesh, that's a one-on-one mentoring session, but it's
Gosh,
always
I
that.
hope I don't bore you guys with the theory or whatever.
No,
Whatever I
love
said. I hope it was.
it. This is what everyone needs to hear, needs to learn. So 1.5 hour, we committed ourselves to giving some nuggets so that people understand the need to do this and not do it alone. Don't feel alone in this journey. A mentor needs to handhold you with the writer. Writer often feels alone, and
Yep.
lonely. It is a lonely track. get ready for that. That's the other, emotional topic of rejection, loneliness on the path, which I
Yes.
want to cover, in the next. And these are those times where one gets overwhelmed with these emotions. So how do you deal with it? What do you do with a mentor? Reach out. Does it have to be expensive? I will have to cover that topic as a neutral person. What kind of monies one would need to bring in, and start saving up if you want to really be a published author, or take
Yeah.
that to a web series. Don't take it lightly. Take the journey seriously. And you need to, like, some of us used to buy second hand books, right? And
Right.
hand me downs and study. We still brought good results. It's right. So the first hand book or the second hand or the library borrowed book, a lot of us studied
Absolutely.
like that, right? No, none of us always bought big books, right? Who My
Right.
mother would say, you would be a fool if you couldn't just go and read it in the library and
In the
take what you
library.
wanted. 2 pages ke liye
Yeah.
you want to buy a 5,000 book, So that kind of she was a mentor, so, right? She told me, for 2 pages we are not buying a 5,000 pages book. Go take it, read it there, make your notes and come back. That's the job.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. So some of these we will cover in the next panel. And thank you so much for your time, Ganesh. I know we have taken a little more. I always take a little more from all our chief mentors.
And I always give a little more, my friend.
That's so sweet of you. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you from all our audience and viewers, whoever watched and watch it later. This video is always up. You don't have to be live here all the time and in your own time zone. We will have a next panel discussion in the next week on very interesting topics. Thank you for your time, Ganesh, and see you.
Thanks a lot, Candy. Thank you so much. I think this has been a very enjoyable conversation for me too. And it's very heartening to see that there are lots of people interested in this, listening to us. And hopefully they've taken out something very, useful, inspiring, and useful and also in a very practical sense. I hope they've got clarity on the process, on the dynamics, on the variables, and what they need to do, etc. I think it's a very inspirational thing. I think it's a very important thing. I'm a journalist. I'm a writer in different formats, right? So I know that writing is it's a form of creation. And like I said, very early on when we started the conversation, writing doesn't have to be just about books. So ease into the writing process is something that I want to leave you all with. Ease into it. Get into the habit of journaling, jotting down your thoughts. It can just be stream of consciousness, right? The stream of consciousness is you write whatever you think, whatever you're feeling at the moment. Don't debate it. Don't delve deep into it. Don't analyze it. Nothing. Don't self-edit. Just put it down on a piece of paper, in a notepad or a journal. Keep that and a pen ready. Spend about 10 minutes in doing this every day. Like I said, it's an escape hatch. Emotionally, it's cathartic. It can also clarify a lot of thoughts for yourself, a lot of emotions. It gives you a better hang of what you're going through, helps you process emotions and thoughts better. It does a lot of things, all right? So in the process, apart from all of these, it can also help you get used to writing. Just get used to expressing your thoughts on paper, right? So do this. I want to leave this as a request and an encouragement for all of you. It eases you into the path of writing. And definitely, I think there is a book in every one of us. That's a very strong belief of mine. At least one book in every one of us. So spot it and write it. Yeah, write it. And we are there to help you along.
Thank you
You
so
so
much.
much.
Yeah, that's a powerful note to close the session. And see you again, Ganesh, on the next panel. All our audience, with this, I will not be. I will close the session with Ganesh Vancheeswaran. And Dreamsbooksfilms is happy to have such chief mentors who are so guiding and so emotionally connected to all of us, which is the need of today, to be stay tuned, to be connected, even in heart and across these gadgets that we're talking on. Stay connected, even if it feels a little artificial and virtual, but we are learning to live with being warm people across these platforms. So thank you very much, Ganesh. God bless. God bless
See
everyone.
you.
Take
Take
care.
care. God bless. Yes. Bye bye.
Take
Thanks a
care.
lot.
Bye. Thank you. I'm going to go to remove the stream. Thank you, everyone, from Dream Books and Films, signing off, and see you next time.